तो साथियों, आज जो हम बात करने जा रहे हैं, टुडे वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट अ वेरी मेजर थियरिस्ट. His name is Stuart Hall, another prominent figure in the category of culture studies. Okay, चलिए उनके बारे में जानते हैं. So this man here is Stuart Hall. Okay, so he's a Jamaican born. Stuart Hall was a Jamaican born British Marxist, sociologist and cultural theorist and political activist also. So he has that major contribution in this particular field named as cultural studies, so to say. His works deal with race and gender themes. You know, being a black person, we know the history of black people. So he just included himself in various movements, like Black Art movement. You can take the example of it. Okay, he's inspired from Michel Foucault. He's inspired from Michel Foucault concept like discourse, power, and knowledge. As I mentioned in my previous lecture, that Michel Foucault has inspired many theorists, and Stuart Hall is one of those persons. And his concept of discourse, I'm talking about Foucault, is something that is mysterious, you can say, or unique in the department of literary theory or in the field of literary theory. Okay, power plus knowledge. The person who holds the power can circulate the knowledge also, in simple words. What are the major works of Stuart Hall? The number one is Encoding and Decoding in the Television Discourse, 1973. The Great Moving Rights Show, that was published in 1979. Okay, and after that, Cultural Studies, 1983, and subtitle is A Theoretical History, 1983. Resistance Through Rituals, another major work, 1975. The Hard Road to Renewal. Okay, that was published in 1988. And after that, Questions of Culture Identity. Questions of Culture Identity. And after that, The Politics of Thatcherism, 1983, acted by Stuart Hall and Martin Jacques. Okay, so these are some famous work of this particular writer named as Stuart Hall. Okay, in this lecture or in this module, we are going to learn about his major concept like circuit of culture, and after that we will talk about his another prominent postulate, encoding and decoding, in another way. Okay, so first of all, here his major concept, encoding versus decoding. As we all know, what is encoding? Encoding means the person who just create a message. Okay, in simple term we can say that you know, our mind has a main part to that our mind can construct a message. Okay, after that we give that message some sort of verbal command or a verbal power. ठीक है, पहले हम माइंड में मैसेज कंस्ट्रक्ट करते हैं, इन हिंदी में बोलूं तो अगर, उसके बाद क्या हम उसको वर्बली बोलते हैं, उसको ओरली बोलते हैं. ठीक है, वर्ड्स जो कंपाइल करता है, यू नो, ऑल द कंपाइलेशन ऑफ द वर्ड्स कौन कंस्ट्रक्ट करता है? आपका माइंड. तो एनकोडिंग क्या है यहाँ पे? एनकोडिंग मीन्स, एनकोडिंग रिफर्स टू द प्रोसेस बाय विच द सेंडर, अ मीडिया प्रोड्यूसर, एडवर्टाइजर और जर्नलिस्ट, you know, again here they are still focusing on mass media culture. Okay, as we just learn in the Livy site, you know, Livy site, I just mentioned that Livy site जो आपका ग्रुप था, उसमें we can see that there are multiple writers, but especially हम बात करें, we will talk about Q.D. Lewis, F.R. Lewis and that particular movement, Lewism. It means they are talking about, they are against that culture, mass media culture or mass culture. They are still promoting that one thing, that high culture, And in that module, we also learn that there is one concept that is propounded by F.R. Lewis. And what is the name of that concept? It is organic communities. And here, F.R. Lewis just mentioned that it is the time of Industrial Revolution, and after that, this revolution also damages our culture. Okay, high culture. That he just mentioned one thing also, that it's all about 18th and 19th village culture of the England. Okay, where they have a folklore culture, folk ballads, folk songs, okay, and different things that represents a kind of culture. Okay, and I just mentioned that if we talk about a folk song or a folk ballad, it means it's a kind of story. And how we transmit it? Orally. We transferred it orally by singing. Okay, it could be a saga of any person. Okay, so this is encoding. Okay, and media producer, advertiser or journalist. Again, you can see some traces of media. This message is not simply information, but is crafted using symbols, words, images and sounds that are shaped by the sender's culture, context, intentions and knowledge. Okay, so here is a simple method that he just trying to say that all the meaning that is interpreted by the receiver is depend on his cultural background. That thing is totally depend on his cultural background. Okay, and context, traditions. In this particular field or in this particular fact, or we could say postulate, a receiver is now active somewhere. Okay, so decoding, we all know what is decoding. In simple words, decoding means to interpret. Okay, interpret a message, or it simply means to come onto the conclusion. So decoding refers to the process by which the receiver interprets the message. Okay, decoding is not as straightforward as one might think. Okay, the way a message is decoded depends on the receiver's background. Okay, it's not about his consciousness. Okay, if you talk about conscious mind, but it totally depends about his background, his cultural background, how he going to take a meaning. Okay, culture, knowledge, personal experiences and even social status. Okay, as the this particular field symbolizes itself, it's all about cultural studies. Okay, so let's go further. So here are three positions of decoding a message. Okay, first one is dominant, or you could also say hegemonic position. We also discussed the word hegemony. Okay, and it means the term hegemony is propounded by none other than Antonio Gramsci. Okay, and in this particular concept, he just coined a quote, you can say a term, degree, or what would you say, degree or kya, rule by consent. Okay, rule by consent. He is talking about all the high classes, that is lower classes that is suppressed or subjugated by high class people. Okay, so this is the main thing in hegemonic or hegemony propounded by Antonio Gramsci. So here's dominant culture or dominant position, and the other one is negotiated code position. The audience partially accepts the intended meaning but also came up with their own meaning. Okay, so it's all about that he is going to take the simple meaning also that is intended by other things, but also he or she will come with own meaning, with their own meanings. Okay, what is oppositional code? So in negotiated code, we are accepting both the meanings. One that is produced by the media, okay, and the other one is that is produced by the receiver. What is oppositional code? The audience rejects the intended meaning, interpreting the message in a way that challenges the whole dominant position. Okay, as the theory of discourse, again we can see some traces of it. Who creates a discourse? Who creates a discourse? The person who has power. Okay, the person who has power will create the discourse. It's a combination of power plus knowledge, as we said. So what happened? What about dominant thing? Who is dominant here? The person who has that discourse, who are just circulating the two things, power or knowledge. But here in oppositional code, the audience rejects the intended meaning. Okay, here is there is a major role of the receiver or the major role of the audience. They are going to interpret a text according to their cultural beliefs. Okay, dominant because it has institutional, political and ideological order imprinted in them. Okay, there is another term or a word that is described by Stuart Hall, and that is power text. Power text. What is power text? For instance, you can take the example of all the scriptures. For instance, Ramayana, Mahabharata, okay, and the Holy Bible, Gita. What kind of these things? These are called power text because their meanings are fixed. Their meanings are fixed. Okay, you can't interpret them properly because their meanings are fixed. Okay, and the consumer take actual meaning directly. Okay, so when a person is going to interpret a meaning, so there are some institutional, political and ideological order imprinted in them or behind that thing. Okay, behind our thinking process there are cultural belief, our traditions and etc. also, other things also. Here is one of the most important postulate, you could say, in this particular domain, culture study. So the first of all, it is called the circuit of culture or the circuit of culture. Okay, the circuit of culture, where we can see representations, identity, production, okay, consumption and regulation. Okay, so it's a very hard complex to understand, but in the next slide we are going to take example of a cream, a face cream, and let's learn how we're going to understand it. So example of a face cream. Example of a face cream. How I am going to do a kind of presentation, production, identity, consumption or regulation of a particular product. Here is the example. First of all, production. A company produces face cream with ingredients that promise smoother, more youthful skin. Okay, first suppose if I just want to sell a product, so I will start with all, by telling that it include that ingredients. For instance, SPF 50, SPF 30. Okay, that can smooth your skin. You also have that you will get that youthful skin that is very active. Okay, the production process is influenced by market trends such as rise in natural skincare and cultural standards of beauty. Okay, so here I am going to talk about the ingredients, all the stuff. Okay, all the elements that are submerged into a face cream. Okay, and after that, representation. The product is marketed with ads showing young, flawless models. Okay, right now I will take an actor. I will hire an actor. Okay, and after that I will tell him that you have to use that cream. Okay, and definitely that actor has a very fair skin. Okay, so showing young, flawless models, reinforcing cultural ideas about youth and beauty. Okay, so what is identity here? Consumers use face cream as part of their identity, either as part of a luxurious beauty routine or as a way to align with trends like organic, natural or eco-friendly products. So it is about the identity. Okay, so it depends on the person, which class he belongs. If he is a luxurious person, so or belong to a middle class. Okay, it depends on the person that how he is going to use that cream. Okay, what is consumption? Consumption mean people purchase and use the cream in different ways, like I mentioned in identity, that based on their skin needs, identity and lifestyle. Okay, for instance, a person belong to the high class will use the cream two or three times a day. But if you talk about a middle class people or a middle class person, he can use that cream in a single time of day, okay, or only one time of day. Okay, how they use it can vary from a regular skincare routine to occasional use for specific issues. Okay, and what is regulation? What is regulation? Regulation here is there are rules about what can be advertised. Okay, how I am going to advertise the particular product, what ingredients are allowed, okay, and how face creams can be marketed to ensure safety and prevent false claims. Okay, so I am not going to show the false claim of that particular product, but I am going to highlight the major attributes, okay, or the major features of that particular product. Okay, so here we take the example of a face cream. Okay, how we produce it. Okay, and after we will talk about representations, identity, consumption, and after that regulation. So here is the circuit of culture. Circuit of culture. There is another theory by Stuart Hall that is named as reception theory, also included in encoding and decoding. Okay, so here we can see that Stuart Hall take many examples. Okay, and he is still talking about cultural beliefs, that how a person is a product of his culture, and by taking that beliefs he also interpret the word or the world that is upcoming world. Okay, so this is the main theme of Stuart Hall's reception theory or circuit of culture. So this is for all. Thank you very much.